John, thank you for allowing me to come out here and talk with you about your company, where you've been, where you want to go. I really appreciate that. So you asked me, hey, AP guy, why are you asking me all these questions about growth strategies, about mergers and acquisitions? What's your people plan look like? How's your HR department? You probably thought that I was going to come out and just talk to you about payroll, right? So if you'll allow me, I'd like to demonstrate this and tell a little bit of a story through the whiteboard. So just like most organizations, and even ADP is guilty of it, we used to place ourselves directly on the OpEx line as a selling, general, and administrative expense, right? So we're a payroll company, and we used to do it really well. We still do it well. But what we found with all of our experience with the breadth of services that we have, I would like to show you a different ADP. I'd like to show you an ADP that's going to be able to have an impact and reduce your cost of goods sold, how we're going to impact and reduce your operating expenses, how we can potentially help lower your tax liability, and simultaneously with some of the solutions and the services that we have, we can show you how we can potentially increase your revenue, and all of this combined ultimately focusing on the bottom line and increasing your profitability. So you may be wondering how it is we're going to do this, or what's the difference between us and another company. When we take a look at your largest expense, we're looking at your labor, right? And within that, the wage is going to take up the largest chunk of that. So if we look at it from a wage perspective, labor is going to equal your wage plus your benefits plus your tax plus workers' comp. We found, using just an example of about 5 million, we found that taking 1.5 and timesing it by the payroll expense or the wage expense, we tend to get a pretty good idea on the total cost of ownership. So with this example, we're looking at about 7.5 million from a total cost of ownership perspective, including all of these. If we have the ability to impact that number by 2 to 3%, would you be interested? Yep, all right. So when we take a look at this, and especially in your situation, you're looking to continue to grow. You've grown really quickly. You're worried about the infrastructure and not having everything in place from an HR and payroll department. There's a lot of liability that come into play. But earlier you were telling me about strategy. And if we look at strategy and we think about this in terms of HR, payroll, you said that you would like to continue to grow, right? So we're looking at growth, and you mentioned that you're going to grow both geographically and through mergers and acquisitions, right? So we're going to continue to grow. You're going to be networking out geographically. And with that, you also want to be able to have your environment, a good environment. You want to be able to foster talent. You want to be able to attract that top talent. So we're going to look at attract talent. Not only do you want to attract it, but you're going to want to keep it as well. So maybe the company culture or performance management. Now, all of these things are going to be items that are going to help impact your revenue, right? All of these items here can make you money. Now, on the flip side, the HR and the payroll and even some other employees of the organization are going to have to focus on some of the items that need to be done because you're in business. Because you have employees, you need to do things like process payroll. You need to do all of the pieces of time labor management. And so that could be capturing the times, issuing time cards, calculating, recalculating. There's a variety of steps just within that piece alone. You have employee questions, manager questions that are constantly coming in. You have compliance to deal with. And from a compliance standpoint, if you're looking at the ACA, tax, here in Portland, you have the Portland Sick Leave Act. Basically, the list goes on and on and on this tactical side. And what we've found, that because it's set up this way, because these items are so important, we say that they have teeth because they can bite if you don't do it properly. If you don't perform, if you don't pay your employees, it's going to bite. If you don't comply with the law, if you get fined, all of these things have the potential to cost you money. And so what we would like to do at ADP is to see what areas that we could potentially eliminate from your plate, from the HR and payrolls plate, so that they could focus not 90% of their time here, but 90% of the time over here. And what we found is it's a complete time suck to do these activities. The 90% is extremely time consuming. Sorry about that, a little bit of a dry mouth. And so you may look at this and you wonder why. Okay, why is it like this? It shouldn't take that much time. I mean, you have all these pieces that come in the HR and payroll office on a daily basis. You have the payroll that needs to get done. You have the various pieces to the time labor management. You've got the questions from employees and managers coming in. And they're coming in a variety of different ways. It could be a knock on the door. It could be snail mail, email, phone calls. Like I said, a variety of ways. Then you have the compliance pieces that need their attention. They got to make sure that you're in compliance, that the policies are built out for it. There's so many different pieces on a daily basis that they're bombarded with that they don't have time to focus on what you want them to focus on, the strategy. And for every piece that comes in here, there's information that has to go out as well. So from the payroll time needs to be put in, it needs to be captured, it needs to be sent. Accounts receivable, accounts payable need to make sure that everything's in time, and time labor management, you've got to collect the time cards, you've got to deal with it, you've got to push it over to payroll. From a compliance, you've got to communicate with government agencies. The list goes on and on and on. So every piece that comes in has to go out. And what we would like to take a look at is what would it mean for us to be able to take this and the outbound off of their plate so that they could focus on the strategy, on the money producing items. So, you're already ahead of the curve. You see that outsourcing is good because you have a payroll provider, right? So you decided to go out, and you got payroll technology and company to help you with that. You're going to continue to grow, and you're going to want to be able to capture your time. So you go out and get an automated time system. You're benefiting your employees, so you're going to need an HRIS system that's going to also handle your benefits. Then you're going to have a recruiting module, performance. You're going to need some HR legal liability help, or at least just some information. So now that you went out and you've outsourced, the problem is you've outsourced, but now you've done it in silos. Each of these pieces contains information from all of your employees. A PricewaterhouseCoopers study came out and said that it costs about, on average, $200 per employee per year just to have the information travel between these silos. And that is a lot of time on the HR and the payroll. If you have these separate, disparate systems, there's going to be double, triple, quadruple data entry. For example, if you hire somebody, not only do you have to put it in the payroll, but you have to put it in the time labor management, the HRS, and the other systems. It's extremely time consuming. And so what we're looking to do with this is to identify and see if it really makes sense for you. We want it to be able to pencil. We want to show you the value in doing it under one roof, under the roof of ADP. And so you have some options that are available to you. Your first option is you could do nothing, right? I mean, you grew, 120 employees within the last 3 years. You're going to continue to grow. It might not be a very viable option, but it's an option nonetheless. So you can partially outsource. And so that's going to be handling this piece that you see over here, all the pieces going in, right? And then you have the option to outsource more of the full suite on both sides. And that's going to be both pieces that are going in and going out. And then the fourth option is to completely outsource, but with people, right? And your little person standing on top here. We do have a fifth option that is a PEO model, which completely reduce your risk. It's shared liability, and that's something that we could dive into if it makes sense for you. But as you see, there's options. And with ADP, we have the breadth and the scope of services and solutions, almost too many. So that's one of the reasons why our next step is to actually do our due diligence. We want to come in with a business consultant and identify all of these areas, identify how much time it's going to take, identify some of the pain points, some of the potential landmines that we see that could happen as you continue to grow and move forward. And we want to put it all together so that we can come back and we could show you a solution that we believe is going to work for your needs. So all I need from you, Mr. Executive, is the permission to come back, to talk with your employees, to do this diagnostic, so then when we do come back with the demo and with some feedback of what we found, I'll be able to come back and present it to you and see if it makes sense, if it's something that you want to move forward with. Now either way, if you decide to move forward with this or not, this next step is going to build value. We're going to be able to help give you some information that you may not be seeing right now. Does that sound like something that would be interested of you? Perfect. Thanks.